In the water, there was something golden and shiny, clearly worth a lot of money. Meanwhile, someone said to get a ladder, but impatient Martin reached out to grab it directly. At that moment, the object emitted a dazzling light and sucked Martin right in. The water surface quickly returned to calm. Then, he emerged from the lake, scrambling and crawling to the shore. In front of him were a pair of giant iron shoes. It turned out to be a homeless man. Before Martin could ask where he was, the homeless man fell straight to the ground. Martin thought he was dead. Fortunately, he was just drunk. When Martin woke him up, the homeless man thought Martin had saved his life and insisted on treating him to some food. Martin saw that he really couldn't eat it, feeling that the man's living conditions were too poor. He casually gave him some money, hoping he could improve his life a bit. Unexpectedly, the homeless man turned around and became firewood. Seeing that he couldn't get any answers here, Martin decided to explore on his own. After passing through the forest, he arrived at a village. Everyone there was dressed in ancient attire. At this moment, several soldiers on tall horses charged towards him. Luckily, Martin reacted quickly, jumping aside just in time to avoid being trampled by the hooves. He felt these people were too rude and chased after them to demand an explanation. Then, he saw a castle and thought they were filming a movie, planning to find the director to settle the score, but was stopped by guards who asked who he was and where he came from. When Martin said he was from Normandy, the first king apologized and invited him in, saying the king was waiting for him inside the castle. Martin kept marveling at how much effort the director put into this, noting how the costumes, props, and even the smell were so authentically medieval. Seeing a pretty young lady, he ran up to ask for her phone number, leaving her completely confused. What was a phone number? At this moment, the rider from earlier approached. He was the king's general, named Sang Biao. Sang Biao was being inappropriate with the beauties on the street. Martin intended to step forward and teach him a lesson, but the general drew his sword and pointed it at him. Just as he was about to deal with Martin, a man came over to take him to see the king. Sang Biao had no choice but to angrily sheath his sword. The man led him into the castle. Martin still thought they were filming a movie. Casually greeting, he ran over. The king was utterly confused. What on earth is this thing? Martin's response was completely off topic and exaggerated. He kept praising the castle's luxurious decor and insisted on asking the king who their sponsor was. The king thought he was an envoy from Normandy and asked when the duke would come to propose to the princess. Martin randomly guessed, Tuesday. The king was overjoyed to hear this and not only wanted to treat him with good food and wine but also let him choose freely from the palace's riches. Martin wanted to go to the restroom, but the man didn't understand what a restroom was. It wasn't until Martin gestured several times that the man finally understood. Once inside, Martin almost threw up. You guys are way too retro. Many people quickly headed outside. A short man told him to go see the head. It turned out they were going to execute the leader of the rebels. Martin decided to go watch the spectacle. The leader was brought to the guillotine, and the executioner nodded in acknowledgement before bringing down the axe. At the execution site, they were executing the rebel leader, and Martin thought they were filming a movie. He laughed and picked up the leader's head, thinking the prop was incredibly realistic. Then he fainted from fright. When he woke up again, a young lady named Lisa was taking care of him. He loudly demanded to go back immediately. It wasn't until Lisa mentioned it was now the year 1328 in the Shili calendar that he realized he had traveled back to the Middle Ages. Martin wanted to leave, but Lisa said he couldn't yet. Your hidden medal indicates you're an assassin. I can help you complete the mission to assassinate the king and restore our queen to the throne. While they were talking, a man came over and said the king was having a banquet that night. Martin didn't plan to go, but Lisa forcefully stabbed an apple onto a stick and gave him a look. Frightened, Martin agreed. At the banquet, the king asked Martin to dance for entertainment. Martin didn't intend to go up, but seeing the king's fierce little eyes, he decided it wasn't a big deal. After a modern dance, everyone started dancing along, even the king joined in. The princess was so excited she gave him a kiss. This made the executioner very angry, feeling that this foreign messenger didn't understand the rules, and he wanted to teach Martin a lesson. Martin was so scared he turned around and ran. The two of them chased each other all the way upstairs. At this moment, two assassins approached the king, just about to draw their swords to assassinate him, when Martin, who was nowhere to be found, fell from above, accidentally saving the king from being assassinated. The two assassins were also captured. The king was very angry with Sang Biao's nephew and immediately appointed Martin as the chief of security, granting him 1,000 acres of fertile land and countless beauties. When Martin saw the king planning to execute an entire family just because a few farmers stole an olive, he wanted Lisa to help him escape from there. Lisa walked away angrily. That night, someone quietly entered Martin's room. Martin thought Lisa had returned. The next day, the real messenger arrived, which made the king very angry. When he opened the door, he saw an even more infuriating scene. Unexpectedly, the princess was with Martin last night. The messenger immediately announced that the wedding would be cancelled. Subsequently, Martin was thrown into prison. The prison was full of people who wanted to assassinate the king. They praised Martin for being so clever, having dealt with the princess. Norman would no longer ally with the king, giving them a chance to win. Even if they were to be executed tomorrow, it would be worth it. At this moment, Martin was brought to the execution ground. In a moment of crisis, he shouted that he was a wizard who could breathe fire. Saying this, he pulled out a lighter from his pocket and lit it, but people were not impressed. Sang Biao still insisted on executing him. Martin was so scared that he burst into tears. At this moment, the turtle's hand next to him suddenly had difficulty breathing. People thought Martin had cast a spell on him. Martin quickly seized the opportunity, claiming he had indeed cast a spell but could also save him. Saying this, he used the Heimlich maneuver to help the turtle's hand expel the object from his airway. People truly believed he was a real wizard and became very frightened. Martin continued his charade, claiming he could make the sun fall and burn them. As he gestured wildly, a fire suddenly started next to the king. People were so scared they fled in panic. It turned out a homeless man had launched a rocket outside. At this moment, Lisa took advantage of the chaos, driving a carriage to rescue them. Unexpectedly, the carriage started too quickly, throwing Martin off. He hurriedly chased after the carriage. Sang Biao saw a dagger fly out, killing the guard blocking Martin. He scrambled and crawled out of the city gate. Above, a large number of soldiers were shooting arrows. Just when he had nowhere to hide, a vagabond came to his rescue. It turned out the vagabond was the queen's great general, who had become a drunkard after losing a battle that cost the queen her throne. When they returned to the camp, they found it had been ransacked, and Lisa had been captured by Sang Biao. Wan Yin planned to rescue Lisa. He gathered everyone together, and after a passionate speech, they all became very excited and decided to fight for freedom. Martin led them in modern training, teaching them modern combat techniques, wrestling, and karate. After some time of training, they planned to attack the city the next day. At night, Martin lay in bed unable to sleep. He thought of the legendary Black Knight, so he went to the campfire and used soot to blacken his armor. The spray could be turned into a flamethrower. The great general led the troops into the city. Due to insufficient forces, they were about to be overwhelmed. At this moment, Martin, covered in black, rushed over with the flamethrower, making everyone believe the real Black Knight had appeared, leaving them all stunned. Even the king was scared away. Overexcited, Martin ran headfirst into a piece of wood and fell to the ground. Sang Biao discovered it was Martin in disguise, and the two sides started fighting again. Under Martin's direct command, the soldiers fought more bravely. The king, hoping to seek protection from Sang Biao, was instead pushed off the city wall by him. Sang Biao not only shot the great general with an arrow but also took Lisa hostage. Martin, carrying the arrow, went up the city wall, and Sang Biao pushed Lisa aside, accidentally scratching his neck. Martin didn't know how to use a bow and arrow and was quickly knocked to the ground by Sang Biao. Holding the arrow, Sang Biao happily said, "You will die at my hands just like your friend." Martin looked at the injured great general on the ground, and suddenly his inner strength exploded. He kicked up a sword from the ground, using it like a modern sports bat, and swung it like a baseball bat, stunning Sang Biao. Then, with a spinning slam dunk, he knocked Sang Biao directly to the ground. With a golf swing, he sent Sang Biao flying in circles before he crashed heavily to the ground, passing out. While Martin was helping Lisa, Sang Biao approached from behind with a sword. Before he could act, he was struck in the back with a sword. So it was the general, awake now, come over. With Sang Biao falling to the ground, the battle was over. Ma Ning was knighted by the queen as the true Black Knight. Just as he was getting excited, he woke up from a coma, come over. It turned out he had been soaking in the water for over 10 minutes, and he had completely passed out. Everything just now was a dream. Sometime later, he met Lisa from his dream at an amusement park. Before he could get her contact information, Lisa had already walked away. He hurriedly chased after her to get her number, only to be knocked into the water again. This time, he woke up in an arena. Tens of thousands of spectators surrounded him. Then, 3 bear lions charged at him wildly. Who knows how he will resolve this time? The movie Black Knight ends here. If you had a river that could take you anywhere, what would you do with it? If it were me, I'd fence it off and sell tickets, guaranteed to make a fortune. Alright, if you want to see more great movie reviews, please follow me. Bye bye.
Yeah.